Hello, my name is Aimee and I am the Black Cat Stitcher here on YouTube and on Instagram, and this is Flosstube number 7. I said it was 7 in my last video, but I was wrong. But it's definitely number 7 this time. But as you can tell, I'm back in my original spot. The catio is back in action. I was able to fix the hole made by Hershey the Escape Artist. And I'm keeping track. I've had 5 days of it being escape proof, but I'm keeping an eye on him because if there is a way, he will find it because he is smart. But anyway, this is actually a video about a cross stitch. I went on a wee bit of a tangent there. In the first half of this video, I'm going to be talking about what I did over this week, and then talk about what I plan on doing for my cross stitch in the future. And then the second half, I will be, don't lay on my cross stitch, kiss. I need to show it to people. Anyway, in the second half, I'm going to be talking about the books that I've read and discussing them without spoiling them. And so yeah, let's get started. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is my focus piece, and my focus piece is the one that I work on the weekends because I have the most time to work on them, and it is also a gift for my father. So Father, look away because I don't want to spoil the surprise. This is what it's going to look like, and I'm currently working on the third panel here, Darth Maul. And I reached somewhat of a milestone, I think, because I'm ready to move my Q-snap, so you'll get to see the whole thing this time. Woo! That is where I'm at currently. I finished the top part of his hood, and I'm going to finish the shadow part, and which is mostly 939 and 310. So I'm looking forward to getting a whole lot of progress this upcoming weekend. So I'm pretty happy with that, and hopefully here in the next, I don't know, maybe month or so, I'll get to start on the next character, which looks to be Boba Fett or the Mandalorian, whichever one you want him to be, I guess. And next, I spun the wheel at the end of last week's video, and I spun a new start, which is one of these 4. I started the blue tree one up there, and I plan, you guys voted in my last video, and you voted for the pink one. So when I get a finish, I'm going to start the pink one next. Speaking of voting, there was a person who commented on my video, and I was trying to react, I guess, and leave a comment back in return, but it wouldn't let me. So if you guys also do floss tubes and you've run into that, or you know why that's the case, and if I can fix it, because I did think that it could have been, you know, just that she had a setting on her channel that she didn't want any replies, which I don't know if that's possible. I've never actually paid much attention to the settings on my YouTube, but I do want to acknowledge the comment at least, and I do acknowledge your vote for the pink one. And I think it's awesome that you have a cat, or had a cat, that has the same name as mine, because it's an awesome name. Anyway, I digress. This is my goodness, it is bright. This is what I got done in the week on my new start. I got color completed on this gray, which is 414, and on, I guess, silvery color here in the moon, which is DMC number 1, and I got somewhat started on the tree as well. So I made a lot of progress. I really enjoyed doing this one, and on average I usually get about, I don't know, 200 to 300 stitches in an evening on my weekdays, but that is if I stitch at all, because there are days that I don't stitch at all, because A, I'm busy, or B, I feel like doing something else perhaps. But I did like 500 on average a night on that, and which caused me to make a whole lot of progress. So gosh, I'm looking forward to working on that again, and hopefully it gets spun on the wheel sometime in the near future. And my last project, which I've been working on this week, was one of my bookmarks, which I'm hoping that I will be getting a finish on one of those soon. But I did not achieve my goal this week, but I got really close. But anyway, I was working on the one in the middle here. Somebody did leave a comment that says, you know, these are characters from Studio Gilby Movies, which is an anime company. I'm not exactly sure which one that is. I could probably Google it. But I do know, you know, Totoro. I know he's a Studio Gilby character, but I can't really identify any of the others. But if you guys happen to know, leave a comment and tell me which one's which. But anyway, this, I'll move my needle minder, is my progress. I'm so close, y'all. And as you can tell probably from the picture, the cloud doesn't touch the lady who's flying in the sky because I miscounted. But frankly, I don't care enough to fix it, so it's gonna stay that way. And I ended up just filling in with the blue on the background because, you know, I didn't really care enough to frog it. It looks just fine the way it is, and it looks so cool on camera. Like, looking at it in person, I mean, it looks cool, but you can really tell, like, the two-tonedness of the clouds, which is pretty cool in my opinion. So I'm so close, just a little bit of the background left. I have 2 more colors left to complete, and then I'm done with this bookmark. But that will have to wait until I spin it again on the Tiny Decisions wheel. Speaking of Tiny Decisions, I am going to start, now that I'm focusing on only a couple projects during my 2 weeks in between my Flosstube videos. I'm really enjoying doing it that way because I feel like I'm able to get some really good progress on the projects that are selected, instead of, you know, maybe a little bit here and there and it's not really all that easy to tell. And I think I'm glad that I changed my rotation to focus more on a couple projects. Yes, Hershey. Anyway, I'm going to spin the Tiny Decisions wheel and select a thing to stitch for the next 2 weeks. Besides my focus project I will always work on, and you will always see it until it's done. But yes, anyway, here is my wheel. I have all of my projects on here except for the Star Wars cross stitch, which I will, like I said, always stitch. So this first spin will be for the first week. Oh, mermaid bookmark. And the mermaid bookmark I actually have sitting beside me, so I can show you where I'm at, and where I might end up, hopefully, in the future. But this is where I'm at on the mermaid, and I might actually finish this. I know I said that about the Tin Man, but I'm much farther along on this bookmark than I was on the Tin Man when I started it this week. So if I really focus, I might be able to finish this. So this may actually be an achievable goal this time. All right. And now for the second week between Flosstube videos. All right, Rainbow City. Now this one I haven't worked on in a while. It's been one of those that I'm going to go slow and steady on. I mean, I don't dislike it enough, and this is what it's going to look like. This is what the final picture is going to look like. And I'm working over here in the purple and blue. But it's on black fabric, which is, as you know, dark fabric is kind of a little bit harder to stitch on. And I don't hate it, but as long as I don't, beat myself up for not making enough progress in my mind, I guess, it's fine. And I've learned some tips and tricks from you guys, which makes it a whole lot easier for me to stitch on. So that will be the one that I'm working on in the second week. So look forward to that. So I guess that is the end of my stitching content, and I will be moving on to the second half, which is reading. So if you're only here for the stitching, bye for now, and I will see you in 2 weeks, and we shall move on to the reading. I had said in my last video that I was going to work on reading a book that I had borrowed from my mom, that I should have read probably a year ago because that's when she gave it to me, but I finally finished it. It's called 11 Days by Donald Harstad. I can't read backwards, sorry. I had to look at it for a second. But anyway, he is also another local to where I grew up author. And my mom told me that he still lives in Elkader, Iowa, which is a town close to the town that I grew up in. And he writes about local sheriff, crime in rural Iowa. And that's what this book is about. It's a series, and I'll probably read a few of the others because I did thoroughly enjoy this book. I mean, at first there was a bit of upsetting parts of it as a background. I mean, murder is upsetting, but it's a murder mystery, so you expect there to be a murder. But basically the upsetting content was people who had been murdered had turned to, spoiler alert, a satanic cult because they felt accepted there, and where they didn't feel accepted in the small rural Iowa because of their sexuality, which, I'm aware that rural Iowa isn't necessarily the most open-minded place when it comes to sexual preference. It's changing though. People in my generation definitely, and when I was, going to high school in Iowa, it was definitely a lot more open-minded than probably what it was at the time that this book was conceived, which is what my mom said to me as well when I was talking to her about it, and how I felt a lot of empathy for those characters, that they felt lost and they didn't feel accepted, and that led them to getting involved in a cult, which ended up getting them murdered, which is sad, and that was upsetting. But I liked the book after that. It got past the point of, talking about, the reasons that the people who got murdered got involved in the cult. After they got past that part, and they got into discovering more of the whodunit part, it was very interesting. In fact, usually I'm pretty good about predicting at some point, even if it's just in the last chapter, I can predict, who is going to be revealed as the murderer. I was caught 110% by surprise by who was the culprit in this book, because it ended up being a side character that was mentioned in the beginning, but then in the middle of the book completely thrown to the side and wasn't mentioned except for maybe once or twice. And then at the end, surprise, he was the bad guy. I would have never picked him out as the culprit. And that was a wonderful surprise because I like being surprised sometimes. That's nice. Because sometimes, especially with murder mysteries and with murder mystery TV shows and all that jazz, it gets kind of stale if you can always figure it out in the end. But this was very nice. I also read 2 other books. I did it as my mother-daughter read-along with my mom. I talked about the first book of this series. I forgot the name of the first book. The Girl in Cabin 13 was by A.J. Rivers was the first book, and I talked about that one in my previous video. And I read with my mom the second and the third book in this series. They were The Girl in the Manor, and The Girl Who Vanished. And comparing them to the first book, I definitely think that they improved, because like I said, the first book was pretty straightforward. It was very predictable, which is fine. It doesn't make it a bad book. But I think that book 2 and book 3 were more well written. Book 2 was The Girl Who Vanished, by A.J. Rivers. I like that one the best of the 3 that I've read. And book 3 was the Girl in the Manor. And that one was a little bit on the creepy side because it involved, you know, cult activities, which always is a wee bit creepy. You know, I also enjoyed that book, but I got really mad at the cult because, I mean, they were taking advantage of people, in fact, murdering people, because they didn't agree with their viewpoints or the viewpoints of the leader, who was, pardon my French in advance, a self-centered asshole. So, you know, that part was upsetting, but, you know, in the end, the hero brought down the cult and everything was good. But yeah, again, they were pretty straightforward. I mean, they weren't by any means amazing. And we will probably continue on reading book 4 and then 5. I don't know. We haven't really discussed, you know, what we're going to read next, but we'll probably keep reading this series. But yeah, this was actually a pretty short video. I guess I didn't have as much to say, slash I wasn't being bothered by my fur babies. But anyway, I will say goodbye for now. Oh, you're so upset. Say goodbye. That was Kiss, by the way. He didn't enjoy being disturbed. But yeah, I will see you guys next video in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.